Study, reflect, and listen to the Lord. Let Him direct your steps. That's how you treasure each day. Do you hear that wind blowing all around us? Sometimes you can't see it, but it's there, isn't it? There's so many different evidences of the wind. It's kind of like God's voice talking to us. Sometimes it comes across so strong as a force that you can't even argue with it, because you know beyond the shadow of a doubt it's there. And then other times it's just a soft whisper, or like a butterfly landing on your cheek. Just a kind little God wink, friends have called it. Well, I appreciate Tricia being willing to share her childhood with us today. Tricia, would you start by telling us about your parents?
My parents?
Mm-hmm.
I was adopted at birth. Jim and Marianne Hunter. They had one child. They could not have any others. My mom had 5 babies that died stillborn at birth. They were able to adopt me and my younger brother, and they had one more child who died. She died giving birth.
Oh gosh! So how old were you when your mother died?
9. Gosh, 9.
I can't imagine the impact that must have made. So your dad finished raising you guys?
My dad raised us. I think he did the best job he could, given the circumstances, and having to be a provider, and we had just moved into a brand new home, and I really do think he did the best he could, but we really raised ourselves in a lot of ways. I think I've told you, I remember taking the baby to the babysitter on the way to school, and then picking him up on the way home.
So you stepped up and helped a lot then with the house?
All of us did.
All of you did?
Yep.
So were there other people in your life that stepped in and helped, your dad and you guys?
Yeah, my mom's mother,
okay.
Grandma was there.
Okay.
She was always there, always around. We could count on her for whatever we needed.
Good.
To be honest, I didn't have a great relationship with her, but she was there. Mm-hmm. Neighbors, women that were my mom's friend, were always there.
Good.
Always there. Anything and everything that we went through. I believe you're wanting to get to.
Were there people in the church that helped?
Everyone there is
it
in the same
the neighbor
church.
was also
your neighbors all go to the same church. Yeah.
Okay.
So because it's a very different environment.
Right.
Here, where literally everybody goes to the same church.
Okay.
So yes, the church was very important.
How have the circumstances early in your teenage years shaped your life?
Was that a butterfly?
That was a butterfly.
Is that interesting?
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
A God wink.
That's right.
Well, you said you were kind of rebellious as a teenager, and that led to some decisions that maybe were not the way your dad raised you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happened in your early teenage life?
And Jamie talked about in church this morning about how some people are rebellious and some people are just humble and do what they're asked. And I'm definitely one of those that's like, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do the exact opposite.
Okay.
Right?
A little rebellious?
A lot rebellious. And so I think for me, being adopted, I felt, and I know this not to be true, but as a teenager, you don't know anything yet because you're still learning. I felt rejected at birth, and I felt rejected because, and I've told you this before, I felt like as a child that God took my mother. He must hate me, he took my mother. And I was, as you know, angry with God for many, many years.
As a lot of people are.
Yeah, because he took my mother. Who takes your mother away?
Right.
What kind of God loves you if he takes your mother away? And so I had to get over that at some point. And then as a teenager, and you got that skewed mindset, as a teenager, I started looking for love.
Mm-hmm. In all the wrong places, as the song goes, right?
Yes. Does that mean I was sexually promiscuous? Yes. Not getting into too much detail. It wasn't like a lot of guys, or it was one guy, one person who I loved, I thought loved me, but what do we know about love as teenagers? And for years I was extracting love from that, and not from where I should have been. And of course, that leads to the mistakes that leads to, having a child. But how old are you? 16. Yep. And that's where the tie-in for Mother's Day comes, right?
You became a mother.
I became a mother.
Earlier than you expected.
On Mother's Day.
Oh, wow. On Mother's Day.
1984.
My goodness.
Yeah. To a boy who I gave up for adoption. And yes, we've talked about that piece of it as well, and I use the word gave up, and the adoption world likes to use placed. And for me, I never felt like I placed. For me, it was a very bitter, awful thing, and I gave up my child.
It was kind of forced upon you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was a lot of options. My dad was not comfortable with me living in his home. It was not right. It didn't look good on his religious upbringing of me. So he arranged somewhere for me to go live away from home. And I went and lived with a family, arranged through the church, out of state. And my dad took me there and dropped me off and left me with total strangers.
You had to be so scared.
Yeah, and that was during the pregnancy.
All those hormones.
Yeah, and terrified.
And young.
And no one to talk to about what labor and delivery will be like, or any of those things that are going to happen.
Prepared.
Yeah. And so that was a rough time, and then it all culminated on Mother's Day. I had this baby that then, because I had agreed to place him, was whisked away. Yeah.
So you didn't even get to see him.
I saw him in the hospital. That in '84, you didn't just go home the same day. You stayed in the hospital for a few days. So I got to see him while I was in the hospital. I've shared this story with some people. I think I've shared it with you, and it's important to me. But when the last time I saw the baby, I told you this, and I was saying goodbye. You talk to your babies, even though they don't understand. And that was last time, as he left with the nurse. He was screaming all the way down the hallway, and that was my only memory. Was I couldn't get past the fingers or the hair and all the toes you check out, because all I remembered was the screaming, and he knew it was the end. And I don't mean to cry.
That's okay. Did that make you think differently about your mother, your birth mother, that maybe gave you up for adoption?
Oh yeah, yes, because then I could see it through her eyes instead of that she just hated me, which is what I always thought.
Yeah.
You can't change that. You can't change what your whole psyche feels, and I've been feeling for all those years, but I knew different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know we all have those in our lives. That you know something, but you feel it differently because of experiences. Yeah. So I knew that she didn't hate me, and it wasn't about that. But now I had all these new reasons to hate myself.
Oh.
And because who would bring a child into the world and then walk away? And that's what I felt like I'd done.
Have you got a chance to resolve any of those?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. That part of it with that particular child. Gosh, I'm trying to remember the day. I don't remember the exact date. It was the day I arrived in Missouri.
Okay.
So it was maybe February 28th.
Okay.
A year ago.
Wow.
It was the day I arrived in Missouri. I got a an email that said, "I think you're my mom." And after all
Just
these
out
years,
of the blue.
Yep.
And so how old would he have been?
35.
Wow. 35-year-old.
You're back. 35. Yeah.
And did you meet up with him?
I have not met him yet.
Okay.
Because I moved to Missouri.
Oh, and where's he?
Idaho.
He's in Idaho. Okay. But you've got to talk.
We talk a lot. No, we've never talked. We text.
Oh my
all
goodness.
the time. We've never talked.
I hope you get to meet him face to
Me
face.
too. Me too.
But he had a good life, right?
He had a good life. Yes.
Good.
At least from what he tells me,
Yeah.
and what I've talked to his adopted mother, and she, is amazing so far, and shares lots of great stories with me. but it's still fresh and new because it's only been a year, and we
Wow.
we text a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I remember you telling me that, and I think the viewers listening into right now ought to hear this. You said every Mother's Day you would pray for him
yeah,
and his mother,
yep,
his adopted mother.
yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing to me.
Well, you hear the stories of people who, and I grew up with this because I was a '60s baby, but that you adopt a child and they're bad, and you know the one book says they'll put strychnine in the well, right?
Yeah, they get that kind of.
Yeah, and so if you're adopting someone else's unwanted child, you're taking on a risk in your own home. And I always had that in the back of my mind that nobody would really want me or trust me or love me because I was one of those, and I never wanted him raised that way.
Sure.
And it's very hard sometimes to love someone else's child, especially through teenage stuff.
Right.
And it's
Hard to love them if they are your biological child sometimes.
yeah, and so I always worried, would he be loved or would he be shunned or would he be mistreated? And I just never knew. And so yes, that every Mother's Day I would pray for them.
And what did you find out that they were doing?
That they were praying for me every Mother's Day as well.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
They were praying for her as well. God is so good.
He is.
When did you meet your birth mother?
When did I meet my birth mother?
How old were you?
38.
38.
37.
37. Okay, you were age 37. I imagine you built up this great anticipation and expectation and had these ideas in mind of was she going to look like you or all these different things. So tell us a little about that.
Well, you go through life as an adoptee and you look even at the grocery store and gas stations. You see people, it's like, could that be her? Could that guy be my brother? Or,
wow.
Yeah,
because you don't know.
You don't know. And I would do that all the time. I would just be checking people out. Do they have eyes like me?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know?
Sure.
And years ago, they did away with the blood test for marriages, right?
Oh.
And I used to think that was probably because of people like me. I could be marrying my brother or something, and you never know, right?
Wow.
So yeah, I did finally have an opportunity to meet her. And yes, I built up these expectations to her being this amazing, wonderful,
Well, tell us
glorious.
how, before you do that, tell us how you got the opportunity even. Where did that come about?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, how does that happen?
that's a hard one. Closed adoption years ago, right?
Okay.
I've been on adoption registries since I was 18 years old, trying to find her, and look how awesome is that?
Wow.
That's beautiful.
That's God.
So on adoption registries, the way it works is you sign in, they match you, and that's how they'll meet you up. There's no other way.
Okay.
So I've been on all these adoption registries. You know, the internet came out and got bigger and bigger, and I'd be on registries online in the hopes that she was as well.
And this is like in the 80s?
I would say this was 90s.
90s, okay.
Yeah. Late 80s, early 90s. But there was never anything. It never hit.
It was empty.
And
that had to be disappointing.
yeah.
Time and time again. You put yourself out there, you hope, you anticipate, you wonder.
Yeah.
And then you don't know. You don't get anything.
And you don't know if she's alive or if she even wants you to. You know, you don't know.
Right.
And you don't want to harm somebody.
Right.
And at the same time, you want your own answers.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a...
Well, medically, what if you had some terrible disease that was passed on to you and you didn't know your birth family?
I still wonder about that.
Sure.
My daughter asked me about that this morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just don't know. And online, it used to be the big deal was Yahoo chat rooms before Facebook. And I was on a birth mom's chat room.
Okay.
Because I was a birth mom, I could be a birth mom.
Okay.
In the group. And I met this other woman who was looking for her daughter in Utah, and we knew it wasn't me because the dates were off.
Okay.
And she was coming to meet her birth daughter, and I met her and picked her up and took her to her hotel.
Oh, wow.
So I got to know this other birth mom who was coming to meet her birth daughter. And so, you know, we had this connection. And through her, she ended up doing some research to help me find my birth mom.
Wow.
And
because you lended a helping hand, that in turn helped you.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was able to get some names.
Okay.
There's a lot more to that story.
Sure.
Do you want me to share?
That's up
a
to
little bit
you.
more? So this woman that I had met on the Birth Moms group lived in California and had traveled to Utah. We became friends. She met her birth daughter. She then traveled home to California. We became really great friends. And when she came again to Utah, her husband's family was from Utah.
Oh, wow.
And so they came for Thanksgiving, and I got to meet her husband. This is where the story gets a little tricky.
What a small world. I'm
Okay.
excited to hear more.
So I met her husband, and they were on my porch at my house, and he just looked at me, and everything went silent, and he never spoke again.
Oh, my.
I was just like, what the heck happened? Right?
Yeah.
And this was pre-cell phones and everything, so I had to wait till she got home.
Oh, wow.
And when she called and we were talking, I just said, what happened with your husband? He just shut down the minute he met me. And she said, he knows your mom. You look just like her.
Oh,
And
wow.
he thinks he might be your father.
Oh!
That was how it went. How scary is that, right?
Right?
And
Oh, my goodness.
he wanted to reach out to some friends from high school and
Before
and
he said anything.
and say, what was her name, and do you remember this person, and see what they could ascertain as far as
Okay.
information. And of
Wow.
course I'm just like, there's no way, right? There's no way. And he
That would be amazing.
he came back with a name,
Uh-huh.
and it was just an odd name, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then he gave more details, and so we started doing. You know, the church is really good with genealogy.
Okay.
The Mormon church has tons of genealogy. So we took the names and we started doing research.
Okay.
In the city where he told us where she was from.
Okay.
And we found matches.
Really?
And so, so this woman, and her name was Norma, I'll just say her name, Norma.
Okay.
She ended up writing a letter. Of course, she wouldn't do it without my permission, but she wrote a letter because we didn't know this woman, and if she had told her family about me, we didn't want to disrupt something or cause problems in someone's life. So she wrote a letter, and it basically said, here's a story of a girl who was shipped off to Utah, lived as a servant in a doctor's home, and gave birth to a baby girl on, August 19th, 1967 in LDS hospital, blah, blah, blah. Just gave the
Okay.
whole story.
Okay.
And if any of this means anything to you, please call this number on this day at this time.
Wow.
That way no one would know anything, and if it was like, that's a fluke,
Then
she
nothing
was
would
not
get done.
exposed.
Okay.
And then we sat by the phone waiting for the phone call.
Wow.
And she called, and the first thing out of her mouth was, I'm your mother.
Oh my gosh. And that's Norma.
No,
No.
and that's Marty,
Marty. Okay, so Norma was the...
the woman who wrote the letter.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
So Marty called you
she
and
called.
said, I'm your mother.
Yep.
And so did you want to meet her?
Yeah. I mean, not right away. I'm
Right?
very
You probably had a lot of
timid,
mixed
and,
emotions about it.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of self-esteem, so that
Okay.
was just like, yeah, no, I'm too ugly, I'm too fat, I'm too everything, to meet someone. But we arranged it, and we met. Her brother came with for the first meeting. Yeah.
In Colorado?
Nope,
No?
they came to
Okay.
Salt Lake.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
Her brother lives in Logan, which isn't too far.
Okay.
And so,
So you got to meet more of your birth family? Okay.
on that first meeting, one of her cousins as well, and his wife, and then her brother and his wife, and then her and her husband.
Okay. Do you have other biological siblings?
One,
One?
yeah, Scott,
Wow.
my brother.
So the $1 million question, Tricia. What does it mean to be a mother?
Well, all my experiences aside, my belief is that being a mother is something that God has asked us as women to do. And I realize not all women can have babies, but
Right.
that doesn't mean they can't be a mother to someone.
Right.
Me, I'm an example of how many women stepped up to be moms for me in my
Right.
childhood. But I think that is something that is definitely God-given and appointed to us, I believe, in a lot of ways, because if we aren't raising our children to love Him, then no one will.
Right.
And so, what does it mean to be a mother? That's what it means to me personally. All the other stuff is just stuff. you know, the raising them, making sure they make the right choices. I can't choose for them.
Right.
I can only try to give an example and hope that they learn from the examples and just do what I feel is what he wants me to do.
Right.
I can't dictate any of the rest of it.
That's all right. Awesome. Stay tuned. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with us about being a mother, finding your mother, having a baby on Mother's Day? I mean, you kind of wrap up the whole package pretty well.
Not a lot to share, though.
There is a lot to share. You don't give yourself near enough credit.
Ask me anything. I'm an open book, though.
Thank you. So you guys have heard it. You have questions, let us know. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more from Nation Station.